One of my favorite things is drawing characters and drawing faces, and I find it a lot of fun, and I love observing people all the time. So I'm going to try and give a few tips on how to draw faces. First off, it's a good idea to practice drawing self-portraits and portraits of other people. And if you're still having trouble, a few things I've noticed in my own work are some little, they're not quite shortcuts, but there's some things that make sense to me. So I'm going to draw some portraits of some of my characters really quickly. So I start out with a circle and a crosshair in the middle. Or I draw it on the side a little bit. First I'm going to draw my character Gosha. On the crosshair, for him, I'm going to draw these two circles. Now his eyes aren't round, they're a little more almond, so these are going to be a little ovular. And then I draw the pupils somewhere. Make sure they're looking in the right direction. On top of this is where I draw the eyelid. Now everyone's eyelids are differently. Everyone's got different shaped eyes, and his, you can see both parts really strongly. Then I go into his eyebrow. Now the nose is what I always have trouble with, especially on new characters. On usual ones, old ones that I'm used to drawing, I usually have a sort of formula in my mind how it goes. And I'm going to try and explain what this looks like. Now he has a really weird nose. It looks like this if I were to draw it really simply and really cartoony. From the further eyebrow, I'm going to go down for him with a straight line. And mentally I'm visualizing an eye length down. So around down here is where I'm going to stop with him. So I go down here. At this base, I draw this really bizarre shape. And this is pretty much the base of the nose. And that's it for him. It's a little easy now because I figured out a little sort of shortcut to get that right. And up here I draw this. Sometimes I won't even ink that, it's just sort of, I need to draw it in. If you don't understand this in 3 dimensions, let me just erase this so you can see it clearer. Sometimes in my sketches you'll even see me leave this line. And some artists I watch, they always have this line drawn in. It's part of their style now. So, in 3 dimensions, his nose goes somewhat like that. If you've noticed, I haven't drawn any other part of his face. I don't go to the outside yet. From here, I go to his mouth, and I'm going to have him smiling a little bit. And don't go too far. It depends on my size of the circle. Here it didn't work out, but usually there's some kind of measurement here I use. But pretty much, in my mind, if I think it looks okay, I keep it like that. So I'm going to give him a little smile. From here, it depends. This character I know really well, and I don't need to do too many measurements. I can go in, and I can draw him and fill everything out, and that's fine. What I'm thinking when I'm drawing this is the circle is it's helping me figure out where his chin goes. So there's his chin. He has high cheekbones, so the cheekbone is up here. From there, I make a line going to his chin, and then I follow that when I outline. So if you see, the face sort of has a triangle almost. It depends, again, it depends on the character, it depends on their face shape. The hairline, again, is different on everyone. He parts his hair somewhere above his left eye, and I'm going to use this line here and just bring it down really easily. His hair isn't very thick, it's rather thin, so I don't have it go out too much. And then I just bring it down. This jawline might even be a little too harsh, so I'm going to round that off. And necks are also different on everyone. He's rather thin and lean, and he doesn't have a thick neck. So I'm just going to draw it coming from down here, and in my style this makes sense and I'm fine with it. Another character could have a thick neck, and I know that in class we were always taught to draw the neck from the ears, but I know my neck isn't like that. Mine looks a little more like it comes from here, at least in my mind. But like especially people in big sports and wrestling, they might have a much thicker neck. It pretty much depends on muscle mass, and everyone's built a little differently. So that's how I draw Gosha. Another character I have is a bit more stylized. Well, he's got his facial proportions are a little bit different. This is Darin. He has big eyes and big eyebrows, and I even make jokes that his face is just a pair of eyes and eyebrows. So he has these huge, huge circles, and I bring them down below the line even. I'm going to have him looking in this direction. Big, big, huge pupils. He reminds me of a puppy, and this is sort of the feeling I want to give from him. Now, for him, I give him cat eyes. I'm not sure why exactly, but for some reason this is just what worked out. This character, he's a boy, but I give him more what in my style I would say are feminine features. So I give him these big eyes and sort of a cat eye. Also for him, he's Romani, and he's got somewhat Indian or Middle Eastern features. And studying from photographs, there are certain things that I see, like under the eye, there's this little soft puff, and sometimes they have, it all depends on the person, but I've even noticed in Romani artwork how they draw eyes, so I try to keep this in mind, and this is another reason. When I bring the circle down below the line, the main eye is going to be up here, and this is an area which gives me an idea where to draw certain marks and wrinkles. His eyebrows are also very large. I don't bring them too high from the eye. And from here I pretty much just sort of jokingly draw, almost like Groucho Marx's eyebrows. And they take up his entire face. His nose is a little tougher to draw, and it took me forever because he kept looking either like Disney's Aladdin, or he was looking like everyone but what I wanted him to look like. He has, from the side, It's a little curved, and it looks like a triangle, sort of like Lois from Family Guy. And for his face is probably a big nose. But this is somewhat what his profile looks like from the side. From the front, it's a bit narrow, and his nose looks a little like this. This is too pointy. This looks like another character's nose. His is a bit smoother. So I'm going to try and translate this to an almost three-quarter view. Yes, three-quarter. So this line over here, I'm going to draw going over that one a little bit. On his, the circle came out the right size. I bring the base down to the bottom of the circle. And I draw the base like this, and I pass the middle. And from here I do that same sort of a really similar shape to what I did on Gosha's nose. But instead I bring this base, the bridge of the nose, almost to the base. And I stop it there. So his nose looks different. Trying to erase a little bit so you can see this better. He has an entirely different nose, and hopefully it translates to the viewer. I also give him thick lips, and I don't have any rhyme or reason as to how I draw this. It sort of comes out differently every time. I'm going to have him smiling a little bit, and maybe showing some teeth. The bottom lip I bring down to... these are all measurements in my head, and I can't explain what they are exactly. If you do enough portraits and sketches from other people, you sort of start to understand how things should look. I'm not saying I'm 100% correct always, but in my style it seems to work alright most of the time, that I don't get too many complaints. If I think something looks strange, I'll probably go in and fix it. So that's his mouth. He has a small face. He doesn't have very defined cheekbones or anything. I usually, in my mind I imagine this, but sometimes on tougher angles I do draw these lines all over the place. A small chin, and I bring this down pretty much all the way. And he doesn't have a strong jawline, so I bring this up really smoothly, really gradually, to balance out the fact that he has such big eyes and such a big nose. Everything up here is really large, and I tend to draw the ears really large also, because if you look in the mirror, your ears are probably the size from your eyebrow to your nose. I think that's how it is. And I just sort of draw these depending on the characters, how they feel right. This is about the top of his head where that circle ended, so I'm going to start his hair from here and bring it down. He has a little bit of a sideburn, so I'll add that in. And he tucks his hair behind his ears. And his hair is a little fluffy and a little wavy. So about halfway is where I let his hair go free, go loose. He's also very thin, so I give him a thin little neck. And if you see this line, it's sort of what I was trying to explain on the other drawing, but Ghosh is more defined. Doran has almost a little teenager face, but this line would be his cheekbone, and this would go down to the muscles of the face. So that's Doran.